Hey Dave, I was just wondering if I could get a quick update on a couple of guys. Isaac Bracken, how's he doing? And also Jace Borfin.
Okay, Isaac is um, probably not this weekend, but I think maybe midweek next week we can get him out there and see if he's going to be able to, be healthy enough to help us the next weekend. And who else?
Jace Borfin.
Yeah, Jace is obviously getting close. Not sure yet if we're going to put him on the 27 man. We're gonna have to make that decision until Friday. So I would say he's probably not going to be on this weekend, but if something changes between now and Friday, that's what we're looking at. But he's getting better.
And then just to confirm, are you sticking with the same rotation?
Yeah, same rotation.
And on that line, I mean, outside of I think one bad start by Hagen and one bad inning by Wiggins, they've been pretty good for you this year. Has it surprised you at all how consistent they've been for you?
I don't think it surprises me. I think that it's, you never know how it's going to go with hitters, pitchers, or any of them. It's a tough game. But our pitchers they prepare hard, and the starters know that when they get the ball, that's their time that week, and they're all throwing strikes. And I think you've seen the development in Wiggins, throwing a lot more strikes. Breaking ball's good, changeup's good. Hagen usually fills it up. He may go through a 7 or 8 pitch period there where he scatters it. The way it's worked, coaches talked to him a little bit, calmed him down, slowed him down, and he's usually bounced right back. And then Connor's always been a strike thrower. Stuff's good. So it doesn't really surprise me. I mean, that's one reason they're starting, because they've shown that they're going to fill up the zone and attack, and they've all done it.
Tom, you still with us?
Yeah, I am. Hey, Dave. So Missouri was rolling along pretty good before they got hold of Vandy. I'm wondering what you think about them on the whole.
Well, obviously it's difficult to judge anybody until you play them and you're on the same field with them. We know a lot of their players. We recruited some of those guys. They recruited some guys that we have. Obviously they're the closest university to us and that we play in the league. So there's going to be some familiarity a little bit with, through the recruiting process, but we didn't play them last year. Just looking at the numbers, their offensive numbers are really good. They fielded the ball. They haven't hit for a lot of power, but they've hit. Their batting average is up there. Yeah, I mean, they ran into a tough team in Vandy, maybe a hot team in Vandy, and, just didn't go good for them. I know that the situation for them, because we've all been in it before, you have a rough weekend, you got somebody coming to you, super important. So we know what we're getting ready to get involved with. We're going to get involved with a team that's on a mission and going to give us everything we can handle because they're 0-3, we're 3-0. We can't take anybody lightly. Obviously, we have to go up there and play hard every game.
All right. And I was going to follow up what Andrew was asking and ask more broadly the depth of pitching that you can have a guy like an ace in the hole, like Zebulon Vermillion, that, what do you see as his role, and what do you just feel about the whole depth?
Well, talking about Zeb, I think what you saw the other day is what we've planning on using him as a guy that could come in to bridge it, tough situation, stay in there a few innings. He can close for us. We needed him for an inning or two. He showed that the other day as well. I mean, he could be a spot starter if we needed him to, but we like him, towards the back of the game somehow, but not necessarily just for an inning or a hitter. And then the overall depth, I mean, we have confidence in a lot of guys, with Taylor stepping up this year, and, we got to get Griffin going from the left side a little bit. We have confidence in Morris. His last outing was pretty good as well. And then, Trest is throwing the ball better. Ramey's throwing the ball good. And I mean, there's more guys in there, but Tiger, kind of showed the other day that he can handle the pressure of finishing up the game against a good lineup.
All right. And finally, does it look good for tomorrow, getting up there and getting the workout in? What do you think? Well,
I know it's going to be chilly. It's supposed to rain. They have a turf infield. I feel like if it's not raining, we'll be out there. Even if it's slightly raining, I think we can still get out there and do some, get familiar with the field a little bit. So we'll just have to see, but we're going to leave in the morning and head that way and try to get out there and, really just get acclimated to the field a little bit. And the way it sits, the way the turf plays. And yeah, it's what you do on Thursdays.
All right, thanks.
Andrew Ellis.
Hey, Coach. Missouri's attempted 36 stolen bases on the year. I believe they converted 33 of those. They stole a lot in non-conference play and not as much last week. Are you expecting them to try to run on y'all a little bit, or do you think that's just something they do against kind of lesser competition?
Well, it's probably a little bit of both. I expect them to run if we let them. Yeah, they didn't even attempt a stolen base last week against Vandy, 0 for 0. And it's been a big part of their game, at least in a lot of their ball games. But then again, sometimes when you're playing behind, you're losing, because they were losing in 2 or 3 of those games pretty quick. You don't risk it too much. And it's a combination of Vandy doing a good job of holding runners. They might have been behind in the game. They're watching the catcher throw. Probably just didn't add up for them taking that risk. So I think that they will definitely run on us if they feel like we're not doing a good job of holding them. So our job is to do a good job of keeping an eye on them, as well as when they do run, we need to throw them out.
And just as you get throughout the season and the sample sizes grow a little bit, is it getting easier to evaluate these opponents? And, you look around the league and a lot of the numbers are kind of inflated. And like you said, it's tough to tell what's real and what's not. But is it getting a little bit easier to kind of understand what you're up against each weekend?
Well, I think as you go into league play, it starts to maybe even out a little bit, or you kind of realize that some teams played on the right days when the wind's blowing out against opponents that didn't have the pitching that some others had seen, because it's a different animal when you get into league play. That's for sure. It's all good no matter who we play on the weekend in league play, they have good arms and they have good players. So yeah, sometimes the numbers are, inflated a little bit, but sometimes the teams that have those numbers are just really good.
Matt.
Hey, Dave, I know you didn't hire him straight away from Missouri, but you've hired a couple of Tim Jameson's old players and coaches with Matt Hobbs and Tony Vitello. Was that coincidence, or were there elements within his program that you thought that people coming out of that might fit well in yours?
Well, I've known Tim since I was coaching at Nebraska, and then I coached one summer with Tim with Team USA. We still keep in touch. So if I like somebody and I call him, he's going to give me a straight answer, which is really good. I had seen Tony out on the recruiting trail forever. It seemed like every time I'd be somewhere, Tony would be there, and we got to talking a lot. And then I'd heard a lot of great things about Matt, the last few years, and his name was one of those names that if you were in the market for a pitching coach, he was one of the first ones brought up. So just maybe that was a coincidence. But yeah, you got to be familiar and you got to trust people. Hiring coaches it can obviously make a huge difference on what goes on down the road. And we've been very fortunate. Both those guys did a great job and are still doing a great job.
And then with Matt, I know he's in his 4th season, but you hired him after fall ball that first year, and then he had elements of 2020 and 21 in the season, the off season, that were impacted by the COVID shutdown. I wonder what you think about the job that he's done overall for you, and working through kind of some abnormal time, like he has, and what you've thought about the way he's got his pitching staff going this year. Well,
I think he's done a tremendous job. He came in here in a little difficult situation, and then the season ends, and the second year, so he's getting more of his guys in here, but he's done a great job with the guys that were already here. Obviously, kind of more of the modern style pitching coach, but with some feel. There's some guys that that know all the numbers and they know the calculations of what you're looking for, but can they coach? Because you still have to be able to coach these kids and work on a grip or pick something out that's can help them develop a pitch or just make a change. And Matt has the confidence to talk to the players about that and tweaking things. And he's got a good feel. I think he's done a great job. And, he works hard now, and future's bright. Got some good young pitchers, coming down the pike, and got some in here right now that I think are getting ready to take off. And he's one of the big reasons why.
A little off topic, but the other night after the Saturday night game, a lot of people stuck around Baum and watched the basketball game on the video board. I'd assume your players went down to the clubhouse and watched it. What was that like? And I think last year when you guys were in Starkville, they were trying to get back to the hotel pretty quick to watch the games. Is that something that's planned and scheduled into the schedule this week?
Yeah, it's they play tomorrow night. About time we're probably supposed to work out. So we'll make as many adjustments as we can for them to at least see part of it. Hopefully it'll go well. But yeah, I mean, it's exciting for I think all the teams on campus when one of the other teams is doing well and is in a national spotlight, with a situation where a couple more wins, they're right there. So yeah, our players were excited the other day, and they did run back. We had all the TVs on pretty much all over the building on the game, and they watched it in the locker room. And I think pretty much all of us coaches watched the end of the game in our locker room as well. It was fun.
Nick?
You mentioned some of those young pitchers starting to take off, and Tygert's one of those that in 5 games has really shown. What have you seen from him in those 5 games, whether that be his confidence level or his pitching ability?
Well, you start to see how many pitches can he throw before his stuff starts to deteriorate a little bit, so to speak, go down. You start to learn about him. I mean, you're hoping that can build up a little bit. And we saw him, I don't know, a couple outings ago where it was his second time out on the weekend. It wasn't as good as the first, but the first couple of hitters were just as good. And, then this past weekend, first inning was really good. First inning was really, really good. The second inning, not quite as good, but he also came up some really big pitches. And so we feel like we could use him a couple times on the weekend, or we could use him maybe one time longer instead of going an inning, 2/3, maybe 3 innings one time. But I like the mentality. He didn't get rattled. We've seen that from him now. And that's what you got to have at the end of the game. I do believe down the road that he could be in our rotation on the weekend because he's got a good changeup, good breaking ball, obviously a good fastball, mid-90s. And if he stays healthy, he'll continue to get better. But I like his toughness and his competitiveness out there, especially when the game's on the line.
That was my next question was, when you brought him on to your team, when you were recruiting him, did you want him as a guy who you can throw in your starting rotation, or have you always seen him as or now has it changed to, wow, this guy could really be a good relief pitcher, especially at the end?
I think now what we see is he's going to have the opportunity to do both. It's going to be up to him going forward. Example of one of our guys struggled or needed a weekend off or whatever because they're tired. I mean, we could plug him into the rotation. It just depends on how many pitches he'd be able to throw. Is he built up to go, 75, 80 pitches? Could he give us 5 innings, or should we just leave him at the end? We could make that decision down the road, but continue to build these guys up. When you recruit them, you recruit them because you like what you see. You're thinking they're going to get better. You don't know a lot about what they're all about inside because we're not around them enough. A lot of guys have good stuff. A lot of guys are scared to go out there between those 2 white lines when the game's on the line. And you can see it. You can see it in the way their body language is and the way they move. You don't see that from Brady. Brady kind of likes it. And that's what you're hoping that you get when you get a kid. Sometimes it takes a year or 2. I've seen guys that have really good stuff that don't really help us till they've been here 3 years. I've seen some hitters the same way, and they end up having great junior years. We're hoping that the young guys can come in and get it done pretty quick. Helps us in recruiting too, because you kind of know who you got coming back and what they can do. If they make a step forward, boy, it's going to be really good instead of going out and trying to figure it out, and then you go get a guy or 2 more, and maybe you didn't need them.
All right, Hutch, close this out, please.
Dave, y'all have had a really incredible run of Friday night guys the last several years. I'm curious how Connor, how he compares to those guys, similarities and differences.
Well, the similarities will be that he embraces it. He wants the ball on Friday night, and he knows how important that game is. Win or lose, if your Friday night starter could give you some quality innings, or quality start, maybe even 7 innings, even if you lose the game, you save the bullpen. And you got a chance to win those next 2 games. If the starter goes out there and it doesn't go well, 2 innings in, offensive team scoring runs, you're thinking, man, we still got a shot at winning this game. And you start using guys to try to win the game. If you're getting blown out, then you do what you got to do. We've been in that situation before, first game in the conference last year. So, but I think he's done a tremendous job there. And, we had 5 weekends here, and he's given us 5 really good starts and taking us to his pitch count pretty much every time, and giving us a chance to win the game. That's all you can ask from a guy that goes out on the first game on the weekend.
And then Hagen Smith, he's a guy, I think you mentioned, like, he came in and he didn't look like an 18-year-old. How much does that help, like that maturity help him as a freshman to kind of come in and do what he's done?
Well, it helps a lot. First off, he's very confident when he's on the mound. He's a quiet kid. He's not going to start too many conversations with coaches. We got to go up and talk to him, and he'll talk with us great. But when he gets the ball and he's on the mound, he thinks he's pretty good because he is. And he's tough enough to get through those bad times. You saw a little bit of his competitive the other day when he gave up the home run and a little bit of chirping and some hooting and hollering, and he didn't like it. And the next guy caps one back to him, and he ran him all the way down the line before he flipped it. I loved it. And then when he got the next guy out, he didn't point at their dugout. He pointed our dugout, stirred up. There you go. Showed me something there that he's not going to back down. I love that.
And then the last thing I got, a question on Wiggins. You mentioned that the other day he didn't get rattled with guys on base. Is that just kind of part of the natural progression from, going from freshman to sophomore year?
Well, you hope it is. I think for him, it's part of his DNA, man. He doesn't get rattled, and he trusts his stuff, and he knows when runners are on base, it doesn't mean they're going to score. And he had runners on, at least one runner on base, I think, every inning his last start, and he pitched really well, and we made a couple of nice plays behind him, and it all added up to them not scoring. So very much anyway. And he just it's been fun watching him get better, because in the fall it was a little bit slower development. We thinking, when's this guy going to come on with that breaking pitch, a little more command. After the holidays, you could see it, and then it just seems to get better and better. And what we love about him is he doesn't lose his stuff. I mean, no matter what that scoreboard's telling you, he's throwing in the mid-90s, maybe a little more when he wants to, even in the 6th, 7th inning. So he's strong.
It's that time of year as college basketball takes center stage with the tournament finally upon us. If you're looking to wager this year, BetOnline is the #1 spot for all your updated odds and info, along with great contests, including the bracket contest, where you can have a chance to take home the top prize. Head over to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use our promo code BELIEVE to get started. That's BLEAV. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sports wagering needs, including live betting and your favorite Vegas casino games. BetOnline, where the game starts.